Hey friends, welcome to the Swing My Heart podcast. Come join me, your host Nicole, for some hope-filled conversations about heartfelt entertainment that makes your heart swing. Hey Hearties, welcome to the Swing My Heart podcast. I'm your host Nicole, joined once again by my lovely co-host Theresa to chat about When Calls the Heart, season 11, episode 2. Tomorrow Never Knows. It was written by Derek Thompson and directed by Neil Fernley. Elizabeth and Allie plan a surprise birthday party for Nathan. Lee and Rosemary weigh business responsibilities against family time. Lucas settles into his role as governor. So, Theresa, what were your hot takes on this episode?
So I actually really liked this episode. I thought that even though there might have been a few things in there that were, a little bit didn't make a whole lot of sense, I do think that the scenes that were good in this episode were really good. Like we're going places. We're going in a good direction. And I think if the season keeps up the momentum of going in this direction, I think it's going to be a really good season, like on par with past seasons of seasons 1 through 5. I think it could definitely be on par with that. So yeah,
I agree.
I'm happy with where it's going.
Yeah, same. I think it was a good episode. And should we just go ahead and talk about the elephant in the room or just wait?
We could talk about it, yeah.
I think some of the Hardys need a little pep talk right now. So maybe now is the time before we get too deep into this review.
I agree. I think we should just hit it right out of the gate.
Okay, yes, I agree.
I know a lot of people didn't vibe with this ending. I know a lot of people were upset.
Yeah.
And I understand that. I totally get it. But I actually was okay with it. In fact, I actually liked it. Not because of what was happening, but more because of where it's going to go. I think it's going to open up some really good avenues for where Nathan and Elizabeth can go.
Yeah.
I think it's going to force them to have some serious conversations. And I think that it really is going to, give them something to overcome as a couple that they do need to overcome, because I've never wanted Nathan and Elizabeth to just be like vanilla. Like, I don't want their relationship to just be like, kumbaya, everything's fine, no conflict, and boring. Like, I want more for them than that. And I think they thrive when they're doing more of those like emotionally intense scenes. And I think this is going to open the door for that.
I think so too.
I know a lot of people out there are mad at Lucas, and what I have to say to that is he didn't know it was Nathan's birthday. He didn't know why there was a party. He didn't know what he was walking into. And, I've seen other people also who are mad that the party was in the saloon because, they're mad because Lucas owns the saloon or whatever. I'm like, guys, he's about to not own the saloon anymore. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know what you want. Everyone's mad about something. And I think nobody's like, everyone's welcome to feel how they feel, but also just be reasonable about why you're feeling what you're feeling. Yeah. Don't just go blame other things that have no right to be blamed, basically. Yeah. I know we've had a lot of red herrings in the past, and that's completely understandable. I understand the trust might have been broken in some areas, but it's gonna be okay, guys. It's gonna be okay.
This is nothing like season 8.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. And one thing I will say is that as a Nathan fan, and I know a lot of other Nathan fans would agree with this, we like good storytelling. We like some depth, and we like some conflict, because it forces the characters to grow and, face some difficulties and overcome them. And I personally am always a fan of that. This is a challenging storyline. this is hard. And I know it's hard, but that's what we've been asking for years. And we're being challenged right now, and it's going to be really, really good. The payoff is to all of this is going to be really good.
I think so too.
So yeah. I think it's going to be okay, guys.
Yes, it's going to be okay. I totally get the whole trust thing because of season 8, but I'll say this too. Lindsay Sturman is not going to mess this up. She knows what she's doing.
Different showrunner, different season, different time, different situation. It's gonna be okay.
Yes. And I'll leave off with this quote from Oliver from Signed, Sealed, Delivered, because it perfectly applies to Nathan and Elizabeth too. And Postables, who are also Hearties, I know you'll know exactly what scene from exactly what movie I'm talking about, but the course of true love never did run smooth.
That is true. Definitely true.
Yes.
Especially for Nathan and Elizabeth.
Yes. But anyway, why don't we get into this review and our deep dive with Lucas and the investigation and the Coulters?
Sounds good.
Yes. I have to say that first scene with Bill and Mike when they're in town and they're talking about the conference call that they have to be on. Mike is like, didn't want to put the cart before the horse, and Bill says, so I'm the horse? And then Mike is like,
oh my gosh.
Or are you the cart?
I mean, yeah.
Oh my gosh. And then Ned wanting to join the call because he's the one that sets it up, and Bill is like, well, maybe the whole town should be in on the call.
I mean, that's kind of what I was thinking when everyone's on the call with Lucas. I'm like, why doesn't everyone just join in this call? Because pretty much everyone was there who needed to be there. I can understand Ned wanting to be on the call. He's a local business owner. He's been there for years. He wants to know what's going down. But at the same time, he doesn't need to be there.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It's pretty funny. Yeah.
Yes, it was.
Very, very Ned thing to do.
Yeah. What did you think about the phone conversation or conference call with Lucas, Lee, Rosemary, Mike, and Ned? And, they're all trying to get their thoughts in, and
that's
Lucas mentions how he has to sell the saloon because of conflict of interest.
I was honestly surprised that Lucas didn't offer to sell the saloon to Hickam right away. Yeah. I don't know what Hickam's financial situation is.
I don't either.
But to me, I was just like, oh, of course Hickam's gonna buy it. Like, that's just a given. But it didn't turn out that way, and I was curious about that. So I would like to know a little bit more about Hickam's financial situation. Like, is he in a place to buy the saloon? Is he not? Yeah. Would like to know a little bit more about that.
Same. Yeah. And when they hang up the call, the brief little moment with Lee and Rosemary, I did love when, Ned unplugs the cord and hangs up the call, and Rosemary is like, well, I had more to ask him, referring to Lucas, about the investigation. And then, they're talking about the sawmill and all the lumber that'll be required to build the hotel. And then this line from Lee was really sweet. He says, I have other things to live for these days, like you and Goldie.
Lee is just like, he is all in with this fatherhood thing. It's really sweet.
Yes, he is. And he forgot about their breakfast date. And Rosemary's reaction, she's like, Leland Coulter.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I can understand Lee is very busy right now, so I guess that makes sense for, it happens, Yes. It happens.
Yeah. I did love the conversation in the saloon with Lee, Bill, and Mike. And this was before Mike came in, but Bill and Lee are talking about the shooting, and Lee mentions how Rosemary thinks he believes there's more to it. Of course, he's referring to Bill. And then they're talking about Rosemary, and Bill says, "Your wife is persistent, if nothing else." And Lee says, "Be warned. My wife is an unwavering force of nature." I love that he said that. That was really sweet.
That is true. And that's not the first time we've heard
Force of
Rosemary
nature.
referred to as a force of nature.
Her birth,
When she was giving birth,
or
yeah,
Goldie's
Elizabeth's
birth.
like,
yeah,
when Rosemary was giving birth to Goldie, Elizabeth called her a force of nature as well. So yeah.
that was really sweet. And then Mike comes in and they're discussing the sale of the saloon. Mike offers a restaurant voucher to hotel guests. And I have to bring this up because it's hilarious, the ending of this scene. After Mike makes the comment about the grilled cheese sandwiches, which outsell the higher end dishes by 20%. And Gustav is, of course, not happy. And then you hear him like yelling in the back.
I was hoping Gustav would come out of the kitchen and actually make an appearance, but I'll take Gustav yelling in the background too.
Yeah.
I still think that's pretty funny.
Can we talk about the brief moment in the Mercantile with Ned, Florence, Molly, and Rosemary when Rosemary is just like flipping out? She's just like throwing the paper.
Yes. Oh my gosh. And then Ned is like, "Oh, why don't you get a source?" And Rosemary's just like, "Thank you, Ned."
Rosemary got scooped again.
Yep.
By Randall Rockwell.
Oh
I love her reaction when she walks out of the Mercantile and she's just like, crumbling the newspaper.
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
So Lee stood Rosemary up for lunch, and Rosemary is not happy. And we have that moment at the cafe with Elizabeth and Minnie too. And Minnie is trying to reassure her that there must be a good reason why he has not showed up. And Rosemary is like, "It had better be better than good. It had better be brilliant." And Elizabeth is like, "That's a lot of B words." Also, this brought me back to a scene in season 1 with Jack and Elizabeth. You probably know exactly which one I'm talking about.
Actually, remind me, because I don't.
It's the one when they're in the saloon. I think it's episode 7, Second Chances, I think is the title of it, when they're working together on the test for Beau, and Jack says something about, "That's a lot of P words I can't quite grasp," or something.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
My gosh. Yeah. 2 very funny moments. Comical moments.
Yes.
Yeah. Little levity in both of those. I did love what Minnie told Rosemary when she says, "Forgiveness is to be humble during trying times."
Yeah, I thought it was funny because I don't know if Lee forgetting breakfast qualifies as trying times.
No.
But it still works nonetheless.
Yes.
Yeah.
And not gonna lie, the fight in the saloon had me doing this and cracking up at the same time.
Yeah. I will say this might be a hot take.
Yeah.
I'm actually on Rosemary's side in this one.
Okay.
We'll get to that in a minute, but I'm actually on Rosemary's side in this one.
Yeah.
But that might be a hot take. Yeah.
I think I am too. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love Lee, but he shouldn't have stood her up.
Yeah. And we'll talk about it more in a minute, but I wasn't fully on board with his thought process, I guess. I don't know. It felt a little bit like his explanation didn't quite fit what was actually happening. But we'll get to that in a minute. Yeah.
Yeah. I thought it was funny when he said, "You can scowl at me, just do it sitting down." And I think this was after Rosemary said the line about, "If I've learned anything in life, it's not to be stood up by a man." Or something along those lines, yeah.
I definitely feel like that's something that season 1 Rosemary would 100% say.
Yes. Of course, he suggests they buy the hotel, and Rosemary's not happy because that will take away time for them to spend together and with Goldie. And, the end of the scene, I love once again when she's like, "Leland Coulter, I believe it is you who was not listening." And then she storms off. It kind of reminds me of the scene from season 8 when she's like, "Go stuff your trout."
Oh my gosh. Yeah. That's true. Yeah. That is true.
But yeah,
it actually reminded me of the scene where Rosemary crashed Lee's car.
Oh, that
and they
one
had
too.
A big fight. Yeah. Although I think Lee was more mad in that scene.
Yeah.
He wasn't really mad in the saloon. In fact, I was actually surprised by how calm he was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was actually, I can't remember if it was season 3 or 4, but that was when Rosemary went to spend the night with Elizabeth.
Yes, that was a big fight.
Yes. You can be a giant pain in the side.
Yeah.
But yes, anyway, what were your thoughts on what you were referring to?
So, later we get a little bit of an explanation from Lee about how acquiring the saloon and giving over more control of the lumber business to someone else while letting Hickam run the saloon is going to make more free time to spend with Goldie and Rosemary. And I would fundamentally disagree. Because when you're running 2 businesses as opposed to 1, you're not going to get more time. You're actually going to be spending more time trying to run both businesses. I know he has good people in charge, but I think he's underestimating how much work it's actually going to be to run 2 businesses. And I don't think running the saloon is going to somehow free up more time for him. I don't think that's going to happen. And we know coming down the line, prohibition's going to be a problem. So if anything, I think he's taking on the saloon at a time where it might be more of a struggle to run the saloon. So I get what Lee is saying, but I don't think it actually matches up with his end goal. Because if he was giving up the business or selling both businesses or, saving up for retirement, basically, that would be when he could say, oh yeah, I'm going to spend more time with family. But I don't think taking on another business is going to increase the time that he can spend with the family. It just,
that makes sense.
It didn't quite match up with me. And I felt like the fact that he stood Rosemary up not once but twice actually proves her point, like
that makes sense.
Yeah. So that's where I stand on that. I was a little bit like, Lee, I don't know. I don't know.
I mean, I think he has good intentions behind it. But
Lee always has good intentions for sure. I think he bit off more than he could chew and he doesn't know it yet. Yeah. So I think he thinks that it's going to free him up more, but really it's going to do the opposite.
Yeah. And while we're there, why don't we just talk about that moment at home when they cleared everything up? I did think that was really sweet. When, Lee was like, well, then what are we fighting for?
Yeah, they shared a really nice kiss in that scene. Yes. And, of course, I love seeing them at home as opposed to the office. Those are more of my favorite scenes for them. So I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
like I said, I'm not fully on board with Lee's reasoning, but I did think it was sweet, and I love seeing them at home.
Yeah,
so
same.
more of that, please.
Yes, more of that, please.
Yeah.
But I think one thing I love about the Coulters is how when they have a fight, they know how to make up. Does that make sense? Like I love that. I love the way they work things out after a fight. And they apologize.
They never have a fight that lasts more than one episode. Never. They always resolve it within one episode. So
yes. Yeah.
Yeah, they know how to make up.
Yes. Very sweet. And that is one reason why they are one of my favorites.
Yes, they are the best.
And we'll get into the murder board scene in a second, but skipping back to Bill and Rosemary in town, are you friend Rosemary or reporter Rosemary?
I'm sure everyone in town is asking her that at this point.
Oh my gosh.
Including Nathan and Elizabeth and Lucas and yeah.
Yeah. I actually have a thought, and I'll share this after I read this next little point here. And it's Pike's confession that Rosemary read from the paper.
Right.
The governor is depriving the common man of the dignity of honest labor by shutting down the water project. And I'll follow up by mentioning how in the episode it was brought up that somebody was giving Randall Rockwell the scoop. Now, this isn't my original theory. This didn't even cross my mind. It was brought up by a couple other people, but I do possibly agree, even though I kind of hope it doesn't turn out this way. But what if the person giving the scoop is Edwin?
Oh, I mean, that could be, because we know that Edwin was not happy about Lucas wanting to give an exclusive to the Valley Voice in episode 1. I could see that. I mean, obviously that wouldn't be like a full-on villainous thing to do, but it would make Edwin a little bit petty, kind of the way that Randall Rockwell and Rosemary's rivalry is a little bit petty.
Yeah.
I think that would be a fun turn of events.
Yes.
that wouldn't incriminate it wouldn't incriminate Edwin by any means, but it would make Rosemary more eager to figure out who the real killer is. So
yes, agreed.
Yeah.
And they both think someone else could be involved, but they don't have any evidence yet. Still no evidence on that front.
Yeah.
And going back to the murder board with Lee and Rosemary, I love the way that they shot this scene with Lee and Rosemary and Bill and Henry.
I loved that too, because sometimes they do these scenes where it's like jump back and forth. And I personally have struggled with a few of them in the past, because sometimes the conversations don't quite correlate with what's happening. Like it takes too much brain power to figure out the connection.
Yeah.
But this one I really liked. And I was like, oh, it feels like something straight out of, let's say, like Aurora Teagarden or something.
It does.
You got going back and forth, putting the evidence together. And I think that that's great. And I'm all for it. Why not why not a murder mystery in the middle of Blank Calls the Heart?
Yeah.
So.
And I'll just read the clues that we were given in this scene. Pike was sporadically employed, supported his elderly mother, had a few small run-ins with the law in his youth. And then Rosemary turns to Lee and she's like, shoplifting? But nothing since then. And then it cuts to Bill and he is saying, why would someone who seemingly got their life back on track suddenly commit an act of violence with no apparent motive? And he still thinks Montague is involved somehow, which I kind of still do too. And
I mean, who else would it be, honestly?
Yeah. And Rosemary says, this story has so many holes it might as well be a pair of old socks.
I mean, I will say, I don't think it's that the story has holes so much as I think there's just
not enough evidence.
Yeah, it's just missing evidence. Like, it's pretty obvious who did it, if it is Montague. Like, it's almost so obvious that maybe it's not Montague. But I am interested to see how they go about finding evidence. I know we saw a little sneak peek of how Bill is going to possibly go about that in his very unorthodox Bill way.
Later.
And I appreciate that that's where we're going. So
same.
Yeah, a little note on that, if you don't mind, since we're on the topic. I actually love the little sneak peek we got of Bill investigating, because it is so much like season 2 and season 3 Bill, where he's like going off and doing his little investigating, and it was just bringing back memories to that. So I'm here for that 100%.
Yeah. And we could talk maybe a little bit more about it in depth at the end when we're talking about episode 3. Yeah. We get to the birthday party for Nathan, of course. And there's a scene with Mike talking to Lee and Rosemary about still running the saloon. And, you know, of course, Lee and Rosemary tell him in a subtle way that they are buying. And I did love his reaction. I did think that was sweet.
Yeah.
And then I gotta bring this up. Rosemary suggests the addition of a stage.
It's funny because before season 11, I actually rewatched season 6. And if you remember, Lee and Bill and Henry Henry and Bill were trying to get Lee to partner with them to buy the saloon.
Yeah.
And the way they went about that was to try and bribe Rosemary to convince Lee to pick them. And how they did that was she was saying like, "Oh, can we put a stage in the corner?" And you know, it brought me back to that instantly. I immediately was like, "Oh, they're actually gonna put the stage in the saloon." I mean, probably not, but you know. Yeah, it's not gonna happen, but you know, we could hope, right?
Yeah. I so hope that Rosemary gets her stage at some point.
Yeah, I mean, Lee promised, and I don't care how many renditions of the stage we've had over the years, it needs to actually be a stage that Lee built for her.
Yes. Yep.
So yeah.
Agreed. And to wrap up Lucas's storyline in this episode, we already talked about it not too long ago at the beginning of the episode, but Lucas shows up at Nathan's party with everyone singing "He's a Jolly Good Fellow."
My question is, how did he get in the saloon?
Okay, yes.
Yeah, how did that happen? Like, also, how did he get to Hope Valley? Literally, he was on a phone call like the day before with everybody, and he's in Capital City, which is 22 hours
away by train.
That wouldn't even leave him 22 hours to get on the train if he got on the train right after the phone call.
And planes weren't a thing yet.
They definitely weren't. And trains took very slow. So how did he get into town with his security detail? How did nobody know he was coming home? Like, how did he get upstairs when he's got a cane?
Well, I think planes came in the 30s, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah.
If I'm correct. Yeah.
Still doesn't explain it. Yeah.
No.
I think if a plane flew into Hope Valley, everybody would know. So, you know.
Yeah. I think I saw a comment somewhere. The hot air
balloon. No. The air balloon would probably take slower than the train. But then again,
I doubt
Lucas can drive a hot air balloon himself, so he could leave at any time.
I'm so curious. How did he get there so fast?
That was my first thought when I saw that scene. I'm like, how did he get there?
Is there a back door on the first floor of the saloon?
Yes, but he would have to go up all of the stairs into that balcony area and go through the door, and I don't think he's doing that with a cane.
makes sense for him to go up the stairs with the cane and then back downstairs.
Yeah, no.
With the cane.
And plus, Nathan and Elizabeth would have seen him going in because they were outside. And also, if he had entered through another back door, that wouldn't take him upstairs. It would take him maybe downstairs, but definitely not upstairs. So I don't know what was happening.
Parties.
I don't know. Maybe Lucas was secretly making the phone call with everybody from upstairs in the saloon and nobody knew about it. I don't know.
Parties, leave your theories on how he got there so fast in the comments of this episode. I would love to know.
I have nothing. Yes. I have nothing. I have no idea.
Yes.
But he's back. So
yes, he is back.
I think with his return is going to come some drama. And I mean that in a good way. But also, obviously, we don't like too much drama. But it's going to happen. So.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about it. We all know where it's going.
Yeah.
It's going to be Nathan and Elizabeth in game.
She broke up with Lucas. She's not pining away for Lucas right now. It's full steam ahead for her with Nathan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we'll talk about that more, I'm sure. But for now, yeah, he's back in town, so I think that's gonna open the door for some drama, which I'm actually okay with. I'm looking forward to that. So
yes, and we can talk about it more, but Nathan and Elizabeth are not too thrilled about the interruption.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But we will get to that later.
Nathan. Yeah.
Moving on to Faith, the Canfields, and Mike and May. Cooper is helping Toby with his math and fractions. I thought that was fun to see.
Mm-hmm. It brought me back to when Elizabeth taught her class fractions with a pie.
Yes, in season
and I was
4.
like, oh, she should bring that trick back, because I think it's gonna help Toby, learn fractions. But I think this particular storyline is going to be something that comes up more later.
I think it is, because I remember Aaron mentioning something about how Billy is his name would have a storyline.
Yeah, which I'm glad of. He's a very good actor. So.
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
Awesome young actor.
Was in the he was in the new I watched the new live action Percy Jackson TV
I heard
series.
he was in that.
And he was in that. Yeah, he had a little scene in there. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, they should bring back the pie.
Yes.
Thing with fractions.
That was my first thought. I was like, bring back the pie, Elizabeth.
Yeah, that was season 4, episode 6, when she lost her job to
Mr. Stoneman.
But Mr. Stoneman turned out nice in the end. So
yeah. Which actually makes me think maybe the imposing figure from Elizabeth's past is Ray Wyatt. Maybe he's not in jail anymore. And then he comes back because he was particularly antagonizing her. Like, nobody else. Like, literally, it was her. So, yeah, that could get crazy.
I didn't even think about Ray Wyatt.
Yeah. It could be.
Oh, joy to the world if Ray Wyatt came back.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Ray Wyatt. Wow, would that be interesting?
Mm-hmm. I would love that.
Yes. Hearties, if you think the imposing figure could be Ray Wyatt, or if you think he might not be, let us know in the comments. We would love to know your thoughts on who the imposing figure might be.
Yes, we would.
Yes.
I have no idea who it's going to be. Like, I cannot think of anyone. Usually I can kind of, maybe put a ballpark on who it could be. But this one, I nothing. Yeah. I have no idea.
It's tough.
So if it's Ray Wyatt, please, that would be amazing.
Yeah. We get Mike and May outside the pharmacy. And he wants to work on a crossword together, but she has a lot of prescriptions to get out. So he mentions a rain check. Basically, she's putting off spending time with him because we find out later in the episode she's scared.
Yeah. And I think it makes sense for May to be feeling this way because she just got out of sort of a controlling relationship. I don't know if I could call it even a relationship because they weren't technically a thing, but she just escaped from a very controlling person.
Yeah.
And a lot of times when you're in a toxic relationship, that comes to feel normal when you're in you're kind of groomed to be in that toxic relationship. It can grow to feel normal. And then when it comes to other relationships in your life, you're not ready to commit to it fully because of that. You know, it doesn't matter how good of a person you're with, including Mike. Someone like Mike is the perfect person. But it could make you feel some trepidation about moving forward if you've been in that toxic relationship before. So I think it makes sense for May.
Yeah, it does.
To be feeling this way.
Makes me sad for her, but.
Yeah, definitely makes me sad for her. But I think that Mike and being with Mike and opening up to Mike is going to help heal some of that trauma for her.
I think so too. Yeah. Also, Bill's comment. How are the newlyweds doing, Bill?
First it's old married couple, then it's newlyweds. I mean, at this point, we all know that I think May and Mike are going to be the ones getting married this season.
We all know at this point. I think the opposite.
Well, yeah, no, I personally, I'm hoping for the opposite because right now I don't think Mike and May are ready or even near being ready. But some of these comments from Bill are a little bit on the nose. And
personally, I think they're red herrings, but it's just interesting.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just so y'all know, I do want Nathan and Elizabeth.
No, I know you do.
I know you do. I would love that. Yeah.
I know you do.
Love that. I just I don't want everyone to get disappointed when it's Mike and May. Yeah.
For me, I'm doing my best to keep my expectations about this lower. But when I hear some of the stuff that Kevin has said, or that Aaron has said, or that just recently, which we'll talk about later, that Kevin has said, it makes it very difficult to think that Nathan and Elizabeth are not getting married.
Right. That is true. Yeah, that is true. There's been a lot of evidence both ways, I think. So and maybe they're doing that on purpose. I don't know.
I think Hallmark is possibly very likely trying to throw us off with Mike and May.
It could be. Yeah, it definitely could be.
I mean, they kind of threw us for a loop with Dan leaving the show. So
true. Yeah, and I was not here for that, but you were, so you know.
I mean, nothing against Hallmark for that. I mean, it was kind of annoying that we were led to believe that he wasn't leaving, and then, woo, season 5, episode 9.
Yeah.
The bombshell.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. It's so funny how every time we have a conversation about When Calls the Heart, it goes back to that. Oh my gosh.
But I mean, it was Dan's decision to leave. I respect that. I will always love and miss Jack, but I'm excited for where they're going now with Nathan and Elizabeth. So
same. Yeah. Like, I love Jack. Jack is fantastic. Jack and Elizabeth's time together was fantastic.
Love Dan.
But I'm very much on board with Nathan and Elizabeth as well.
Yeah. And love Dan too, of course.
Of course, yeah.
But going back to the topic at hand, which is Faith, the Canfields, and Mike and May. I did love Joseph and Minnie's brief moment in the cafe when she's talking about being the pastor's wife, and everyone is asking for her advice, and she says, everyone wants advice. Florence is upset her daughter doesn't visit enough. Molly worries about Rosaline living in the city. And Mike Hickam, well, he worries about everything.
Poor Mike.
I know.
He's been through it. Poor guy.
Yeah. And Joseph's encouragement was really sweet too.
Yeah. I like how they have this like aspect of Minnie.
Yeah.
Like it kind of gives her a little bit of, like that dimension of, she's the pastor's wife, and that means that the women are all going to be drawn to her for her advice because they think that that's what pastors' wives do. But in reality, she has the same struggles as all of them, and the same worries, and it's a lot. But I think she is a really good person to talk to. I think she's underestimating the help that she's giving people.
Yeah. Faith and Lily at the pharmacy. That was an adorable scene.
I just think all of the scenes with them are so cute. And I love seeing Faith kind of be in this motherly role a little bit. I think it's a lot of fun for the character.
Yes.
But Lily is so adorable.
She's precious, yeah.
Yeah.
When Faith calls her silly, when she's spinning around in the chair, she's like, "You're gonna get dizzy, silly." Or "Silly, you're gonna get dizzy," I think is the way she said that. And then Lily is like, "I like being dizzy."
Oh my gosh.
And Faith says there's only one cure for being dizzy, an extra large scoop of strawberry ice cream.
I will say, maybe ice cream is not the best thing to have when you're dizzy.
No.
But I guess if it's like a kid and, like the kid is just, having fun and it's the fun kind of dizzy, yes, that's fun. But if you're actually like dizzy, maybe not.
I have a funny story, and this does not involve ice cream, but it does involve being dizzy. I can't remember how long ago this was, but there was one particular day, me and my mom and one of my cousins and my aunts had gone to a local park, and they have one of those chairs you sit in that are like a high-low chair and it spins around. So this one particular time that we went, I sat in that chair and I was spinning in that thing. I don't know how long. When I finally got off of it, I thought I was going to throw up. I'm not even lying.
Oh no.
Like I couldn't even get it to stop. Like the chair wouldn't stop. It just kept spinning.
Oh no.
I think my cousin and my mom had to literally grab my hands and pull me off.
Oh my gosh. Wow. That is rough. Yeah.
Very nerve-wracking. But anyway, fun question. What is your favorite ice cream flavor?
Well, my go-to is typically chocolate, but there's a really good flavor, peppermint ice cream, not mint ice cream, peppermint ice cream, which is typically pink, and it's flavored after candy canes.
Oh wow.
Versus like green mint or whatever. And that is good. It's so good. Yeah.
It does sound good. I love peppermint too. So
yeah.
I'll have to try that sometime. See if I can find it somewhere.
Yeah. I don't know when it's in season. Probably around Christmas time.
Yeah.
But you might be able to find it in the store. It's very good.
Yeah. I'll have to try it. I think
should. Yes.
For me, can't go wrong with chocolate. I also love Moose Tracks. So that's the vanilla with the Reese's peanut butter cups.
Oh yeah, Moose Tracks are the best.
Yes. And if we're actually going to an ice cream shop, like marble slab, I'll either get strawberry with M&Ms or mint chocolate chip.
Can't go wrong with mint chocolate chip.
Love mint chocolate chip too. Yes.
Yes.
And I also love peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. Getting onto another food item, which that is what Faith is making Lily for dinner. And she likes it without the crust.
Yes. I have to say, I hate peanut butter and jelly, but I have definitely babysat my fair share of kids who will only eat peanut butter and jelly. So, and also the cutting off the crust, like being very particular, that is such a thing. Like I had 2 kids that I babysat, and one of them would only eat the peanut butter and jelly if it was cut into squares, while the other one would only eat the peanut butter and jelly if it was cut into triangles. So
that's funny.
I don't know.
Oh my goodness.
Kids are particular. They like it a certain way. Yeah. In fact, when I was younger, I used to believe that the sandwich tasted better if it was cut into triangles versus squares. I don't know why. I
love that.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I also love peanut butter and banana sandwiches too. Those are always good.
Ooh, I love peanut butter and fluff and udder sandwiches.
Which, I've never tried those.
Really good. Very good. You should try it
sometime.
Yeah, it's like the marshmallow spread.
Oh, that, yeah. I've seen that in our grocery stores too.
Yeah, you should try it. It's very good.
I will.
In my opinion, much better than a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, but that's just me.
I'm sure it's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought this was a great scene with Faith and May when they're talking about Mike, and May is saying how she's confused and she doesn't know why. She really cares about him, and May says, "Serious has never worked for me," and Faith responds, "Well, maybe it will this time."
And kind of harping off of what I just said about May and her situation, I do think that being with Mike is going to open some doors for her that maybe were not open before. I think that he's the right person for her because he's so kind and so generous, and he's kind of a doer, just like she's kind of a doer, and they kind of do things together. So I think they're well matched, but at the same time, he's gonna, with his his kindness, he's gonna be able to heal maybe some of that past trauma with her by being with her. So yeah, I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, I agree. And can we just talk about Lily dressing up as her grandma? I think that was precious.
Super cute. Yeah. I remember doing that when I was younger, and
I did it too.
Yep. Every little girl does it at least once in their life.
Yes. And I love Faith's comment before she comes downstairs. She's like, "I don't even want to know what she's doing up there."
It brings me back to the season 6 Christmas episode when Rosemary had a bunch of the orphan girls from Grace and Lillian's orphanage.
Yeah.
They went up into Rosemary's room, basically ransacked her wardrobe and put on her nicest dresses and all come downstairs. It's exactly like that. Super cute. Yeah.
And that might have been intentional from Lindsay too.
It could be. Yeah, it could be.
Yeah. Which I would love if that was the case.
Yeah, it's always nice when you get those like little callbacks or like flavors of the old seasons.
Yes, same. And I think one of my favorite scenes of the night was Faith and Lily at the cafe, and Faith is reading Lily a story and talking about what's going on in the story. I thought that was a sweet moment.
I thought it was sweet too.
Yeah.
And also she brought up Fiona again.
Yes, she did.
Which makes me wonder, maybe we will see Fiona again.
It's possible. I hope we do.
Yeah, because I know when Jesse and Clara left, and even when Abigail left, they were mentioned the first episode. They were not in, and then there was not really any other talk about them apart from, you know, occasional references. But Fiona, it keeps coming up, so that makes me wonder if maybe we might see her later on.
Yeah, I hope we do.
I hope so too.
Yeah,
I think that would be fun.
Before we move on, I have one more thought about the scene with Faith and Lily at the cafe when she's talking about what's going on in the story and how the character Rebecca, her parents needed help raising her, so she went to live with her aunts. I wrote in my notes about, is this foreshadowing? Because we brought up a theory similar to this. So I wonder, maybe her grandmother, like you said, will not be able to take care of her, but she'll recover, and Faith will still take over as her guardian.
I think it's very possible.
Yeah.
Just because I think if the grandmother was going to die, she would have died already.
She would have already.
Yeah. I think she would have died already. I think the focus of the story would have been not only Faith, you know, being a mother figure to this girl, but also Faith having to help her overcome grief, I think would have been introduced into the story if that's where they were going. Yeah. So the longer they put this off, the less likely I think Dora is actually going to die. Yeah. But I definitely think she's going to give up, guardianship of Lily to Faith.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so too. And the hug was so sweet.
It's so cute. Yeah. Yeah. They're so cute. I love their scenes.
We get Mike and May at the party, and it was a brief conversation, but, you know, Mike comes up to her because he wants to tell her something, and, you know, she just kind of, I think, as Carrie and Morgan put it on Honest to Goodness, word vomit. She just kind of like...
I was going to say, a total word vomit there, yeah.
You're wonderful and kind and everything that I've ever wanted. And then she kind of stops. And she's like, and that's all.
I mean... Yeah. Okay. I think I would have liked a little bit more.
A little bit more,
It could be maybe we will get more. I think what they're trying to do is use this as a way to get Mike and May to the next level in their relationship. But to me, it's not enough. I need a little bit more because she's struggling, but she didn't struggle with him until she had come to a resolution. She just kind of was like, I was struggling, but now I'm not anymore. It's like, okay, no, let's have you two work through it together. That way you grow as a couple, you know? Yeah. I want to see more of them as a couple, you know?
Yeah. I love them, but as I said, for episode 1, they're nowhere near ready for marriage.
No. And like I said, me saying that I think they're the ones doesn't mean I want it necessarily. I don't think they're ready. I think they need at least another season.
And isn't it the episode 3 synopsis that says they celebrate a milestone? I'm pretty sure.
It could be maybe like 6-month anniversary, 1-year anniversary. I'm not sure how much time has passed.
That's what I think. But after this conversation that we're talking about right now, I don't think it's a proposal.
Yeah. Originally, I thought it was a proposal. Now I'm kind of like, I
can't see it.
I really don't think so. Yeah. No.
Yeah. Yeah. Although I love them. Yes.
Yeah, they're cute, but I need more of them. We just need more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And another couple that's not a couple yet that we need more of are Nathan and Elizabeth.
Yes. I loved their scenes in this episode. I haven't really shared my thoughts on them publicly apart from my Sunday night episode review on Instagram. Apart from that, I haven't really shared anything because, haven't posted my review yet. We haven't talked about it yet.
Yeah.
But I'm just going to go ahead and say this before we dive in.
Yeah.
I am a little bit frustrated with Elizabeth right now. Okay. Just because I feel like she needs to work a little bit more to, if she wants this with Nathan, and I get that it's still early, I wish she was like kind of had to work for it a little bit more, like had to kind of struggle for it, because Nathan is still struggling, like very much struggling, because, Lucas came back in the picture. That throws a loophole through everything. He's experiencing a lot of confusion, whereas things are fairly easy for Elizabeth. I just wish there was a little more of a struggle for her. And I know it might come later on.
It's probably coming.
Yeah, I just wish there was a little bit more of a kind of equal level of struggle going on for both of them, not just Nathan again, because Nathan, it never seems like he has any sort of like certainty in his love life. And now Elizabeth's got a little bit of uncertainty too, which is great, and I love that for her.
Yeah,
because it's interesting, but I would like to see a little more struggle.
Yeah, I think we'll get that in the next 2 episodes, and then they'll, of course, clear up the misunderstandings. So.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I know it's coming. I think right coming. Now I'm just like I get it, and it's episode 2 and Nathan's already struggling. I'm like, I would like to see a little bit of struggle for Elizabeth as well.
Same. Yeah. But before we get into more of Nathan and Elizabeth scenes, the first scene with Elizabeth and Rosemary talking about Robert babysitting little Jack and Goldie, and then Elizabeth's joke about Robert giving them a haircut. And I love how Rosemary was just like about to go in there and
like, how dare he
take the scissors away. But of course, Elizabeth was kidding. She wasn't serious.
Right. I mean, she might have a point. You never know, but
never know. Yeah. And then they're talking about Nathan's birthday and throwing him a party, and Elizabeth was like, I don't know if he'll want that. And then she comments that she's glad he's home. And that's the second time she said that within 2 episodes.
Yeah. And, I mean, he's been home for probably about maybe a week at this point, maybe 2. But she just keeps saying it. So,
Yeah. And Rosemary's reaction was perfect. Elizabeth was like, what? And Rosemary was like, nothing. And then she starts laughing. She definitely knows, but I like how Rosemary is kind of pulled back a little bit and not like pushing. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I agree, because I think Nathan and Elizabeth, they have to reach that point on their own. And we all know how it went when Rosemary tried to matchmake with Faith and Carson. I don't think we want that again. So.
No, although I do think that they will be continuing the matchmaking, or I do think that Rosemary will be continuing.
Well, of course, but yeah, it's Rosemary. I don't think she needs to do full on like go crazy, have a dinner party, invite only the 2 of them.
No, I do think she will be a catalyst for helping get Nathan and Elizabeth together, along with Bill. I think the 2 of them are gonna like.
Oh, Bill is definitely gonna be involved somehow.
But not in a major way, just kind of in a minor way, kind of helping push them together, if that makes sense.
Right. Exactly.
We get the scene with Allie and Nathan on the way to school. And I kind of wish we hadn't seen this before the episode, but it was still a sweet moment. And, they're talking about going fishing. Allie wants to take him on a fishing trip to the old fishing hole they used to go to. And then they get to the school, and the banter in the scene is totally Kevin and Aaron.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yes.
100%.
When Elizabeth says, "Oh, that's too bad, because Rosemary had this idea that I could," and then you see Nathan's head just kind of tilt like,
He's kind of like, you could what?
that we, that a small group of us could have a casual dinner at the saloon tomorrow night to celebrate. Nathan's reaction was priceless.
Yes, it was.
He thinks Allie is throwing a surprise party for him, and Elizabeth denies it. And I love how he's like, oh, you're just gonna get a small group of people together for dinner at the saloon? It's happening.
Yeah, I mean, I will say, as an introvert myself, I could not relate more. I hate parties, especially when they're for me. I do like surprise parties because I don't know about them beforehand.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'm not a party person.
Oh my gosh.
So when Nathan said that, I was like, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I enjoy parties, but I'm not one that's like a party person, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I do like surprise parties, but for me, I don't know. Probably not for me, but for other people.
Yeah.
Surprise
I've had
parties
a
are
few
fun.
and they're always fun, but if I know about the party beforehand, no.
Agree.
But if I don't know about it, it's great. Yeah.
Yeah. And Elizabeth was totally about to ask Nathan out. Like, come on, Nathan.
Literally, Rosemary was like, she had suggested earlier, like, a small gathering. And then Elizabeth is like, and then is like, oh, I mean, we.
Come on, get it together,
that date.
Nathan.
She wanted that date. Let's be real.
I can't wait for their first date.
Oh, me too. Yeah.
I can't wait. And I love when he says he's going to play along, and she's like, you do that. The invisible string.
For sure. Yeah. They're so funny when they when they have those little banter moments.
Yeah. Just getting a little off track from the party and Nathan, Elizabeth, and Allie for a second, but we have to mention Elizabeth and Henry and the mention of Abigail.
Yes, I had been hoping the entire episode before, in episode 1, that Abigail would get mentioned, that Henry's visit to Abigail would get mentioned, and it finally happened. I was so happy.
Yes, me too. It was such a sweet moment.
Yes.
And I don't know if it's just me, but did what he said kind of make it sound like, I mean, not in a mean way, but Abigail kind of let him go gently?
I mean, from what I can tell from that scene, what I would say is that it was more about her almost like telling him, you gotta move on. Like with your life. Not even move on from her, just like you gotta move on, move forward with your life. As opposed to like their romantic relationship, which they can't really do now because she's not on the show.
Yeah.
But I think they made it more about his actual redemption, forgiveness story.
That's true. Yeah. I can see that.
So I didn't see it as that, but I might need to rewatch it to see kind of that dynamic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It makes sense. Yeah. I mean, what you're saying could be very possible too.
Yeah. But I want to hear your thoughts on it though.
I thought it was a sweet moment, like I said, and I didn't even catch it really, or that didn't even cross my mind when I first watched the episode. But then it was brought up when Carrie and Morgan and I were reviewing the episode, and I thought it was interesting. But
interesting.
Yeah, it could be either way. It's kind of difficult when Lori's not actually there. So
Yeah, it's hard to get a read on what Henry's actually like what actually happened because Henry's a man of few words. He's not going to go and tell Elizabeth everything that happened.
Mm-hmm.
We're just going to hear little snippets here and there.
Yeah.
But I know if Abigail was here, we would hear everything because Abigail tells Elizabeth everything. So
I miss Abigail so much.
Yeah, I've watched a lot of the older seasons with Abigail before season 11, and it made me miss her so much.
Yeah, maybe one day she will be able to come back. Fingers crossed.
I hope so. Yeah.
Moving on to Nathan and Allie at the Mountie office. This scene was hilarious. And before we get into the actual scene, I have to say the camera work that they did, or the editing, really, I should say, with this scene and the one before, how it was Ned, Florence, and Molly at the mercantile, and Ned was looking at the paper, and it shows the paper, and then it immediately cuts to Allie's hand kind of putting the paper down. That was brilliant.
I love when they do some like artsy stuff with the camera. I remember when they were filming Jack's funeral, they have a really nice artsy shot where the camera goes into somebody's like profile and it turns black, and then it pans out and it's the cemetery way after the funeral.
Oh yeah,
such good camera work, and it reminded me of that a little bit. Yeah, where it's like you kind of switch without knowing you're switching.
Yeah. Brilliantly done. Yeah. But anyway, they are talking about the article. We already mentioned this earlier on, but someone leaked Clayton Pike's confession to a reporter. Maybe that's Edwin. Maybe not. We don't know. But I thought it was interesting they were talking about it. And then, Allie is asking what she should pack for the fishing trip. And I don't have what Nathan says written down, but I do have his fishing is good line. And he winks, and Allie is like,
good.
Allie is like, what was that? You just winked. And he's like, I did not wink.
Oh my gosh.
They are perfection as father and daughter.
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love those comedic scenes with them.
They're so fun.
Yeah. I have to say, Allie is definitely close to figuring out that something is going on with her dad and Elizabeth.
She probably knows at this point.
Yeah, I think she already does.
Oh, yeah. She'll probably just be like, duh, Dad.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
We get Elizabeth, Rosemary, and Allie at the cafe, and they're talking about Nathan's party. And, of course, back to Allie thinking both her dad and Elizabeth are acting weird. I love when she's like, my dad's acting all weird. And so are you.
Yeah, then she knows something's up. I love how it's Elizabeth that tips her off, not Nathan. She's just like, my dad's acting weird, whatever.
So are you.
Yeah.
And then, they're talking about the party, and Allie's like, he's expecting a party?
Oh my gosh.
And then I think Allie says, well, if he's expecting a party, doesn't that mean I have to give him one? And Elizabeth calling Allie honey was so sweet.
Oh, yeah. I noticed that. I was like, oh, he's calling her honey.
Yes. I think that's one thing I'm looking forward to most when Nathan and Elizabeth officially get together is seeing Elizabeth as a mom to Allie. She's going to be a great mom.
For sure. I'm very excited for that. Yes.
And Rosemary's matchmaking, of course.
How could she not?
Yep. And she says, and the whole town will want to celebrate your dad. And I seem to remember, now, of course, I do think that the whole town wants to celebrate Nathan, but I seem to remember on multiple occasions, not just when Nathan came to town, but also when Jack was still there, Elizabeth was referred to as the town.
True. True. I'm sure the whole town wants to celebrate your dad. Oh my gosh. Yep.
Elizabeth is the town. Although, like I said, I'm sure the whole town actually does want to celebrate.
I'm sure, but we all know who actually wants to.
It's the town.
Yep.
We already talked about it in our preview for this episode. Elizabeth and little Jack at home, making the banner and the birthday card.
That was really sweet.
Yeah, one of the sweetest.
For sure. And you could just see how much, Elizabeth doesn't talk about it as much publicly, but it's very clear that she wants everything to be perfect.
Yeah.
And she cares so much about Nathan, and obviously little Jack does too.
Yeah.
So
yeah, they're already imagining their blended family, and I love that.
Yes.
Total foreshadowing.
For sure.
Yeah. And I also love on the card how Jack added Newton and Sargent.
Yes, me too.
That was adorable.
Yeah, he does not miss any details.
No. Can we just talk about Nathan at the mercantile with Ned and Florence when he goes to get the eggs?
Yeah, that was pretty funny. Because you've Ned who literally just like spoils Allie's present for Nathan. He's like, oh yeah, I'll just act surprised, like at the party. And Ned and Florence, of course, don't know that there's a party.
Why weren't we invited?
Yeah. Of course, Florence takes offense immediately. She's like, why weren't we invited? Yeah.
Oh, that was sweet how they gave the eggs to Nathan on the house. That was thoughtful.
Yes. Yeah, that was very sweet.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell in that scene if was Nathan disappointed that there wasn't a party, or was he just embarrassed that he thought that the whole time?
I don't know. I'll have to go back and watch to really gauge his reaction. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I also wonder, what was he doing before to make him so late going to the mercantile?
True.
And why would he need eggs? Was he making
Easter's coming up, so
yeah. Yes.
Could be that. Yeah.
Were he and Allie making a cake?
Maybe
cookies? I don't know.
I mean, to be fair, I think eggs are a fairly common thing to run out of in everyday thing. Yeah. Like if it had been something like lard or I don't know, something random, I would probably question it more. But I think eggs, I'm just kind of like, okay, yeah, they probably ran out of eggs.
Yeah.
And they don't have chickens. So,
you know. Very true. Yeah. It could just be for breakfast or something.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Although I did kind of laugh at Kevin's reply to Aaron's tweet about that scene. And he's like, the mystery of that will be revealed in episode 12. What does that mean?
Oh my gosh.
I'm so curious. Maybe Kevin was joking, but I'm curious what he meant
by
that.
What was Aaron's tweet again? Because I can't remember.
It was something about how she didn't know, or Elizabeth didn't know why it was so urgent for Nathan to have eggs.
Oh, I see.
Something along those lines. I don't have the tweet saved in my phone.
Kevin's probably joking, knowing Kevin, but you never know.
It is interesting. I'm like, what do you mean, Kevin?
Yeah, I mean, we will definitely keep an eye on that for sure.
Yeah. One of my favorite scenes of the night, the talk with Nathan and Elizabeth and the party and how much Allie wants it. And the flirting. Nathan walks up to her and in a whisper, he's like, "Don't worry, I'll act surprised." The fire of that scene.
Oh, yeah. Just the way he, said it, he's like, "Don't worry, I'll act surprised." And she's all like, "Ah!"
Yes.
Totally, lost. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was great. Yeah.
Yes. And it was so sweet how she wished him happy birthday.
Oh, I loved that. That was probably my favorite part of the scene.
Yeah, it was very
She
sweet.
was like, I don't know what she meant to say, but it was still really sweet to hear her say it. And maybe that is what she meant to say, but it was really sweet. And I liked that.
Yes. They're not even a couple yet, and they are the cutest.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Imagine what they're going to be like as an official couple.
Oh, yeah. It's gonna, it's gonna be great.
I can't wait.
I can't wait.
Another favorite scene was Nathan and Allie talking about, fishing and his birthday and Colleen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I love, we already knew this, but I liked hearing Nathan tell Allie that Colleen was the life of the party. And she's like, "Oh, so she was the fun one."
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Anytime we hear about Nathan's childhood a little bit more, I like that.
I hope
or just his past in general. Yeah.
More about Colleen in future episodes, which I think we will.
Yeah, I think so too.
The whole storyline with Dylan.
Mm-hmm. Which we now know is going to be in episode 9.
So. Truth be told.
Yes.
Which is also, ironically, an episode of a Signed, Sealed, Delivered movie.
Oh.
Oh my gosh. Which is a very good Signed, Sealed, Delivered movie. I mean, they're all good, but
yeah.
Not going to get off track there, but I'm looking forward to episode 9.
Me too. Yeah, I think it's going to be good.
Yeah. The party and everyone surprising Nathan. That was really sweet. And, everyone singing. And I don't know if you caught this. You might have. But, I mean, it's a blink and you'll miss it moment when they're saying, "Happy birthday, dear Nathan." You see Nathan look at Elizabeth and Elizabeth look at Nathan.
Mm-hmm. So cute. Yeah.
I think you know which looks I'm referring to. I just melted into a bun.
I know. Yes. I definitely saw it. Yeah.
Yeah. Very sweet.
Yeah.
And Rosemary and Elizabeth's talk. Nathan looks happy. He does. And, they exchange looks there too, which are also sweet.
Mm-hmm. Yes. I do have a question though.
Yeah.
In the beginning of that scene, Nathan is having a conversation telling a story.
Uh-huh.
And he's telling the story. And did you catch what he said?
I couldn't really understand what he was saying.
He said something along the lines of, "By Zeus's beard, that's big." I'm like, what are you talking about? I really want to know what the heck he was talking about.
I was trying to hear what he was saying. Yeah. I couldn't understand. I should have turned on captions for that.
It was wild. I've heard people say some pretty crazy things in the background, but that takes the cake.
That was funny, I'm not gonna lie. Yeah. And I didn't even understand what he was saying.
Yeah.
And we get Nathan and Elizabeth outside the saloon. Another one of the best scenes of the night.
This scene was, whew.
The fire of this scene too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I like how, he went out to get a breather. You can see that he's kind of decompressing when she first walks out, which something totally I relate to as an introvert.
Yeah.
But, they start talking and, she says, "I bet you'll never make that mistake again."
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And immediately when she said that, I knew that was when they were going to have a moment, because there's a lot of subtext there.
Mm-hmm.
And it could be applicable to Nathan, but it most definitely could be applicable to Elizabeth, meaning that, she has made mistakes in the past, mistake of breaking things off with Nathan and going a different road, and she's not going to make that mistake again. And I think he took that as kind of that subtext and was like, okay, I'm feeling a little bit bolder now that you said that, and I'm going to, I'm going to pull this confetti out of your hair. And but I think that particular line is going to come back later. I
think it will. I also love when he says, "You know me too well."
I loved that too. Yeah. It's definitely it just shows they're like, they don't even need to like say it to keep, or like they don't even need to say it, because this whole episode we just saw like she knows him, the rest of the town is like, party time, and she's like, I don't think he's gonna like that, and she knows that, and that's why she kind of like let him in on it, because she knows he doesn't like that. But like they do know each other, they know each other so well, and they got to know each other really well in season 10, and I'm so glad in this episode we really got to see, kind of like leave the original awkwardness of episode 1 behind and kind of make way for that friendship that they formed in season 10. And you could see they know each other so well. And obviously he expressed that, but I don't even think he needed to, because it's very clear that they do.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he pulls a star out of her hair.
Yes. Do you think he saved that star?
I think he did. I didn't catch it, but it definitely looks like he put it in his pocket.
That makes me wonder if it's going to come up somewhere else. Like maybe he'll pull it out again at some point. I think that would be fun.
Possible, yeah. And there is the song by, I can't remember the artist, but Catch a Falling Star. Catch a falling star and put it in your pocket.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. I thought it was also sweet how Elizabeth called Nathan the man of the hour.
Super sweet. Yes.
And then they're interrupted.
Yeah. Which obviously I'm not happy about, but I know that I love the chemistry between Nathan and Elizabeth. I love that. But I do think before we go full tilt with that, there are some conversations that need to be had.
And they will.
Like I mentioned earlier, I do think Elizabeth needs to struggle a little bit with the consequences of some of her decisions over the years, because if it were too easy, it wouldn't, it wouldn't be satisfying. So I think that some of this, conflict or misunderstanding is going to make those scenes between them even better.
It's all part of the journey to get to their great love. And I can't wait to see how it all plays out and how they officially come together as a couple.
I'm very excited.
Yes. But I think that wraps up episode 2. Do we want to briefly chat about what's coming in episode 3?
Absolutely. I think we saw the preview. It seems like it's mostly revolved around Lucas coming home. I think what might happen is that Elizabeth might struggle a little bit in that she is going to feel like she needs to be at Lucas's side, because he's been shot, he's he has a cane, he is he's still going through it, and she wants to make it up to him. And I think a lot of her feeling, indebted to him in that way, but also feeling like she needs to be there for him, is going to make it hard for Nathan. And Nathan's going to see that and might interpret that as, I think she might be leaning towards Lucas again. I do think any doubts about that, for Elizabeth at least, are going to be completely squashed once a certain person shows up in town. But we can talk about that. Yeah. Yeah. We can talk about that next week. But yeah, when a certain person shows up, I think Elizabeth's doubts about that will be, you know. I don't think she'll feel the need to, you know, kind of, you know.
Jeanette.
Yeah.
Yes.
Jeanette.
Yes.
Who is absolutely stunning, and she's
Cecilia?
super sweet.
I can't remember her last
Cecilia
name.
Deacon, I think.
Deacon, yes.
Yeah, she commented on my post about
I saw
Jeanette.
that. That's
super
awesome.
Sweet.
Yeah.
She's so sweet. I'm already very excited to meet Jeanette. So and she's exactly what I pictured. So I'm very happy.
And fun fact for all the postables who are also Hearties, Cecilia, spoiler, because I know you haven't seen it yet, Theresa, but Cecilia plays great grandma Betty in the flashbacks in Home Again. And once you see that movie, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about.
Okay. So, good to know.
Yeah, she's great.
Yeah.
I'm excited
I'm excited to meet her character.
Also, I feel like it's possible the shirtless scene is episode 3.
It's definitely possible.
Because, I'll just read what When Calls the Heart posted on Facebook.
I already know what you're going to say. Yeah.
It's very interesting. Their caption for their post with the episode 3 preview video. Get excited, Hearties. In the next all-new episode of When Calls the Heart, the mystery around Lucas's shooting deepens, and Elizabeth sees Nathan in a whole other light.
See, if this was episode 4 we were talking about, I would think they were referring to maybe Nathan hanging out with little Jack. But that's not the episode we're talking about here, so yeah.
It's got to be in this episode.
I tend to agree. You're probably right about that, yeah.
And I think if it's Elizabeth seeing him in a whole other light, part of me wonders if it's that scene when she's walking to the Mountie office and she walks by and she sees him, I don't know, maybe changing or something.
I don't know. I honestly have no idea what they're going to do with that, but obviously it's going to be, in my mind, I think it's going to be something similar to when Elizabeth saw Jack chopping wood in season 1. Yeah. And she kind of walks by and like fans herself with the with the papers, and I think it's going to be something a little bit like that.
If he's chopping wood.
Oh yeah, no, I don't mean specifically chopping wood. I just mean in the context. Yeah.
No, but what I mean is like if he does happen to be wood chopping when he's shirtless, it wouldn't be behind the Mountie office in town where everyone else could see him. That would be at his house.
Yeah.
If it's happening at the Mountie office, I could see her walking in to talk to Nathan about something, and he's in the middle of changing.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I have a hard time picturing that because
if it's that scene, I'm not.
Yeah, if the Mountie office is public domain, I don't think Nathan would be doing that.
Very
especially
true.
Just out in the front of the room. But I always picture it like in the backyard, probably.
Yeah, it could be there.
I don't know. I have no idea how this is going to play out. All I know is that it's probably going to have the same effect on Elizabeth that watching Jack chop wood in season 1 is.
Yeah, because Jack was not happy in that wood chopping scene.
Well, Jack was never happy whenever he was chopping wood, so you know.
That was like, I think right after or shortly after their first meeting in the saloon, and he finds out that she's the reason he's been transferred.
Yeah, that was kind of Jack's like decompressing thing. Whereas Nathan, it is sometimes, but we've seen him chop wood in situations where he wasn't mad. So yeah, I think
Yeah.
We will see.
And Edwin once again acting suspicious when Bill was asking about more security, and he's like, in Hope Valley?
In Hope Valley? Almost like he's assuming Lucas is not going to stay there for an extended period of time. So, yeah.
I'm also curious about what Lucas is going to ask when he goes to school.
Mm-hmm.
Leave your theories in the comments, Hearties, if you have any.
Yeah. Do you have any theories?
My guess would be something about land for the hotel, probably.
Mm-hmm. That definitely could be. I think, personally, I think it's going to be a much smaller request than that. I think that,
it could be smaller.
Personally, I think he might just be asking her to maybe be somewhere for something. Like, I think there's going to be some kind of like radio announcement. And I think he's, because we've seen some pictures.
In the saloon.
Yeah. So I think he's going to be asking her to be there. Possibly. That's my, I don't interpret it as him. Yeah. I don't interpret it as him asking her like, give me Jack's land, or,
no,
like, or some people I know are like, oh, maybe he's asking her out again.
No, he's not doing that.
Yeah, no. I think it's much smaller than that. But if he was asking her for Jack's land, I don't know how I'd feel about that.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
And we already talked about the sneak peek with Bill in Capital City, but we got to briefly mention Nathan and Bill in the stables. Nathan is brushing Sargent, and then, the shade from Newton.
I think that was really cute, because you could tell he's doing it for Elizabeth, because but I also sensed watching that scene, there were two things that I noticed. First of all, that Bill is actually telling Nathan what's going on, and Nathan says, oh, thanks for keeping me in the loop, which is really nice, because when Bill was taking care of the Wyman Walden situation with Lucas, he didn't keep Nathan in the loop, and there were multiple times where Nathan had to be like, Bill, what is going on? And that was frustrating to watch. And so it's nice to see Bill keeping Nathan in the loop, even though he's not involved and can't be involved. So that was nice. But another thing I noticed about that scene was Nathan seems really like tense, almost like something just happened.
Yeah.
As in, like, maybe he saw Lucas and Elizabeth together and he's frustrated, or maybe he's still frustrated about the birthday party thing, or he just seemed really tense to me. So I almost feel like him brushing Sargent isn't just like, oh, I want to do this for Elizabeth. I think it might also be a decompressing thing.
Yeah.
So that's just a theory. I don't know. I could be totally wrong.
I agree. Yeah. And I think it's sweet how he's taking care of Sargent.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. Do we want to briefly just talk about Kevin's after show interview and Kevin's interview with our friends Sarah and Joy?
Absolutely. Yeah, I would love to.
So, 2 key points from Kevin's after show interview. There were 2 really good questions that were asked. And the first one was, what are you enjoying most about Nathan and Lucas's dynamic this season? And I have what he says written down. I don't think Nathan has as much to worry about as he thinks he does as we move forward with this. He really doesn't know. He let that go, and he tried to move on unsuccessfully with other people. And now he finds himself kind of back in the ring with the person that he confessed his love to, and her ex-fiance is still in town. And also Nathan and Lucas were getting as close as they've ever been. On top of that, Lucas is his boss, I know where his heart is. And then, he's like, but I'm not going to spoil it.
Mm-hmm.
And then he finishes up answering that question by saying he's got a sense of duty for sure and a professionalism, so things might get a bit messy, which makes sense.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Because...
And I think that might come into play with maybe he feels like he can't do anything with Elizabeth because he doesn't want to get in between her and Lucas, but then also he's working for Lucas right now as like kind of like a protection.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be a little bit of a struggle there for him and possibly for Lucas as well.
Yeah. And earlier on in the interview, Kevin said how, yes, he is all for Nathan and Elizabeth being together, and Nathan, talking about his character, is open for more if she's open for more, which of course we know she is. So yeah.
Right.
I thought that was a great answer. Kevin always does a great job answering these questions.
He does. Yeah. He always gives very creative, but also he leaves little tidbits in there. So they're always good creative answers.
Yes. I think one of the most interesting tidbits were these next 2 points about some characters that we're going to meet later on in the season. He says, in season 11, there's a lot of people from the past that show up in Hope Valley. People that we've heard about, people that maybe we've already seen, people that we've never seen before. Nathan gets involved in a lot of those storylines as well. And then, the question after that was, what can you tease about these important characters? He says, each one tests Nathan in a different way. There's one that comes back, that comes to light, that kind of moves the investigation with Lucas forward. There's one person that comes into Nathan's life that he's never met before, but Elizabeth has a past with, and it draws them closer together. There's another one that comes in that I think it's a big one for Nathan to meet. There's a connection with Elizabeth and Nathan together, and it's important that Nathan is liked by this person.
So, I already have theories. The first one is Jeanette. The second one is the imposing figure that we can't figure out who it is. And the third one is Tom Thornton.
Yeah, I thought about that. And for me, I'm not going to even mention the first person because I think we both know it's most likely Jeanette.
Yeah.
The second person, let's see. I feel like the second person maybe could be Tom too.
Yeah.
Possibly.
I think it's possible. I do think it's the imposing figure though.
Yeah.
Unless it could be Dylan as well.
Yeah, it could be Dylan too. That's very possible. I also thought for the third person, Elizabeth's father, because it would be important for Nathan to be liked by him, especially because we know they're in game and they're going to eventually get married. So
true, yeah. That is very true.
Yes. And that's one other clue why I think the wedding is them, because
I mean, just the fact that like he has to, like, it seems like he needs to get approval from somebody, that seems to point towards that. So if nothing else, it at least points towards wedding conversations, you know.
And I mean, that could be Tom too. I mean, getting Tom's approval could very well be.
Right.
But yes, very great interview from Kevin. And Kevin, I'll just read this one piece of info he gave at the end of the interview. And it was when Sarah and Julie asked him to describe season 11 in one word. He said unexpected. And this was his explanation behind it. There was an expectation when our new showrunner came on that all the storylines were tying up, and that maybe we were done telling stories. And now we've opened Pandora's box, and I think there's all sorts of new directions. So I think this season, there's a lot of things that are happening that are unexpected. I feel like it's, in a way, sort of a new start for the show. I know I've talked to Pascal and Aaron and Ben and a bunch of other people. He wants to be involved with the show as long as it goes, if the fans stand by them and continue to enjoy the show that they put out. Then having a new beginning every once in a while is probably really healthy for the show and healthy for all of our characters and maybe healthy for new fan bases. So I would say unexpected. And I kind of unquote part of that, but yeah. Not everything was word for word, but
no. You get the basic.
I took out the important parts of it. Yeah.
I think Kevin's right because sometimes the show, and we've seen this over the years, sometimes the show has evolved in a way where it'll have a rebirth and then it'll have a rebirth again. And what I see as Wayne Calls the Hearts like rebirths are season 3, because season 2 was a notoriously disliked season, and season 3, it begins right off the bat with Jack and Elizabeth working through an issue and then being really strong that season. And that season I see as a rebirth and one of the best seasons of the show, with a really strong storyline and finale. And then season 6, another rebirth, because Jack had died. You have a new batch of characters coming through and some old characters leaving. And I think that is another rebirth of the show. And then I would dare to say that season 10, in a way, was a rebirth as well, because, we had all the love triangle drama. We had a lot of there was just this feeling of talking directly to the audience and the audience's wants, and a lot of fan service going on in seasons 8 and 9. 7, 8, and 9, should I say. Lots of fan involvement, but then season 10 kind of took a step back from that and redirected things. So I would say season 10 is a bit more of a rebirth as well. And then season 11 is just kind of that continuation of that rebirth, but also a hearken until the old seasons as well. So we've had a few rebirths over the years. I think rebirths are necessary, especially for this show, because the show does not, its life source is not drama and the typical things that other TV shows might thrive off of. It's a very feel-good show, and sometimes with a feel-good show, they could potentially get boring if they just keep doing the same thing. So a lot of times they have to do a rebirth, and I see this as the rebirth.
Yes, I agree. And when Kevin says new beginnings and, a rebirth, and how they thought that they were done telling stories and things were tying up, that I feel like he's, in a way, saying, if Lucas and Elizabeth had gotten married, it would have been, there would have been really no story to tell. Does that make sense?
Right.
I mean, it just kind of would have been flat, and then, his rebirth, new beginnings comment. I feel like this is another clue as to why I think Nathan and Elizabeth are getting married. The blended family, new beginnings. That would be new beginning, I guess, having these 4 become an official family. Can't wait to see what happens.
I'm very excited.
Yes. But I think a new beginning for all the characters. I mean, not just Nathan and Elizabeth and little Jack and Allie. Great interviews, Hearties. Definitely go check them out.
Yes, you definitely should. There's a lot of good moments in there, and I think you should definitely check them out.
Yes. Well, I think that wraps up our episode 2 review. It's always so much fun chatting with you, Theresa.
Yeah, I had a blast as always.
Yes.
And I'm looking forward to next week.
Yes, can't wait for next week. All right, Hearties, I think that concludes our review of When Calls the Heart, Season 11, Episode 2, Tomorrow Never Knows. If you enjoyed this episode, you can like this video. If you want to share your thoughts on the episode and any theories you may have for the rest of the season, feel free to leave them in the comments. If you want to stay up to date on all of our reviews for the season, you can subscribe to this channel and make sure to turn on the bell so you are alerted when episodes come. And go check out Theresa's blog if you're not already subscribed. Thank you so much for listening. We hope you have a great day or night wherever you are in the world, and we will see you next week. We love y'all. Bye.
Bye.